Here. I'm the co-founder of Digital Leadership Associates. I'm also the co-author of the book Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers. Today, I'm really thrilled to have Keenan on the video with me today. He's the author of an amazing book called Not Taught. If you haven't got it already, then you need to basically buy it, and there it is. It's available, I'm sure, on all Amazon platforms like my book is. But Keenan, introduce yourself.
What's up, my man? Thank you first for having me on. We've been talking via social forever. I loved your book. I got it here. I should show it if I can grab it. I love your energy and your passion, and I really appreciate the sport. So I'm excited to be here. I'm not good at introducing myself. I'm Keenan. That's what I can tell you. I'm loud.
Okay. You're like me, like a bit of a modest Brit then, and difficult in explaining yourself.
I'm confident, but I am modest. So you know, I try to help people. I'm a big time helper. My business is around helping people. Yeah.
So I mean, I read your book and I was blown away, because the great thing that I loved about it was, business books can be boring.
Yes.
And it's not. It's
boring, but I'm not boring. I mean, you know.
It's not boring. For me, it was a real page turner. It was one where.
Page turner. I love you.
Page turner.
Hold on one second. Kiki, can you grab one of those lamps? I'm a little dark, so I'm going to see if I can light. No,
okay,
no pun intended. I know I'm dark, but you know what I'm saying.
You look at me, pale.
I'm going to have Kiki light it up for us. But yeah.
So, what was it that made you sit down and actually decided you wanted to write a book like Not Taught? What was it that gave you the motivation to do that?
So it's really funny. So like most things, it wasn't this epiphany, right? So. If anything, this is a great story for people who are always wonder if giving returns, right? So I had a friend who was an adjunct professor at the University of Denver. And is that better? Look at that.
Yeah, that's great. That's cool.
There you go. So who was an adjunct professor at the University of Denver, and he asked me to come in and speak to one of his graduate classes. And I said, all right, sure. What the heck? Why not? And I said to him, what do you want me to talk about? And he said, I don't know, whatever. And I said, well, you got to point me in a direction. So talk about what they need to know when they graduate. It's like, all right. So I sat down and I started giving it some thought. And as I was giving it, I just wrote bullets down, and which turned out to be the chapters of this book. But as I was writing the bullets down and I was creating the presentation, and then I gave it really punched me in the face, right? I was born in 1968. I went to college in the late 80s, early 90s. There were no cell phones. Cell phones didn't show up on the scene until about 97, where they became ubiquitous. Even still, they weren't, but right. And then there was no social media or any of this stuff, and it hit me. Whoa, what these kids have to do now is completely different than what I had to do when I got out of college. And the crazy part is nobody's telling them this. Like, I sat down and built this list, and I just pulled it out of the sky and thought about it. I realized no one's telling these kids this. So I told them that. Then I wrote a blog post, and the blog post did really well. And then that's when it hit me. It's like, you know what? More people need to know this, because people are still talking about resumes. They're still talking about experience. They're still waiting for the boss to tell them what to do. They still think that if they don't go to college, they'll never be somebody. And they're still operating from the old mentality. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take each one of these and just write a chapter on it and get that sucker out. It just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
And one of the things that it comes across in the book is the fact that there are no jobs for life anymore. No. That you've got to make it yourself. And this is not preaching about an American dream or anything like that. It's an everyday thing that you've got to be in a situation where you are continually learning, and the education that we do at school and at college isn't going to last us a lifetime.
No, it's not. Look, a lot, and I appreciate you bringing those things up, because a lot of people, when they talk about the book, they really go to the first 3 chapters, and they talk about social media presence and reach and personal branding. But to me, the book is far more than that, right? It's what you just said, this idea that I can't count on a job the rest of my life. And organizations and people are going to look and judge people differently. So it's about creating a competitive advantage. And the competitive advantage goes far beyond brand and social media presence. Goes along, how well do you focus on growing your own expertise? In the chapter, I say your experience does not matter. Nobody cares about experience anymore. They want to understand your level of expertise. Well, do you have expertise? You've been doing something for 20 years, but you know how many salespeople I meet who've been selling for 20 years, so their sales expertise is bottom of the barrel? Right? their knowledge and understanding of sales expertise is a joke. So same thing. I mean, we have two doctors, right? Been practicing for 20 years. One's far better than the other one. Why? Not because they both have 20 years experience. One decided to focus on their level of expertise. The other one just kept going through the motions, checking off each year, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years. So it's all of it. And you just nailed it really well.
And I think you bring that out in the book about this difference between experience and expertise, because always at school we're being told, you've got to get the right qualification, and then what you do is you do an internship, and that gives you the experience, and then it starts building it from there. But you can. The great thing that I like about social media is anybody can do it. It's kind of like a. For me, I'm a little bit older than you. I was born in '65. I was 12 in 1977.
I got love for you, baby. A '60s baby.
I was 12 when punk came out, and I don't know if punk translates it, but my father was a big classical music fan, and you have to train and you have to train and train, and here we are with something like where you actually didn't need to have any ability. All you needed to have was you didn't really need to have some talent, but I'd argue that people like the Clash actually had some talent.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it.
But you could kind of play 3 chords, and all of a sudden you're up and running. And I kind of see social media as an ability. If you've got the passion and you've got a small bit of talent, you can get on social media and you can kill it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yes and no. It depends. So think about this. Let's talk about punk, right? They killed it within their tribe.
Yes.
Right. And so now there's a chicken and the egg, right? Like, so did the Sex Pistols, did they create the tribe, or did they react to the tribe? I don't know when it comes to punk, right? I don't know which came first, but it still was very tribal, for lack of a better word, right? Now the Clash, they broke out of that, and they played more than 3 chords, and they were far more talented, right? So the more talent they had, the more broad appeal they had, and they're able to get in, I think, the top 10, if not top 5, at least for one song and one album, which made them a lot more money. So the same thing here. If you have a modicum of talent, but you're really good at building a tribe and gaining followers around that, someone at the modicum could have no followers. You get 500,000, 10,000 followers. It's okay, good for you. But if you don't raise your talent level, you're going to stay there, right? But if you have lots of talent and, more importantly, a commitment to deliberate learning, I'm going to learn more than 3 chords now. I'm going to go to vocal school, and I'm going to, even though I still want to do punk, I'm going to raise my game. Then I can expand my tribe, or cross tribes, if nothing, or bring new people into the tribe, which expands the tribe, right? So now I become a leader of the tribe. Using necessity, you have the ability to raise the game. And unlike when we were younger, finding that information and being taught required money. You have to go pay someone to teach you to play the guitar. Now, or pay to take a sales training class. Now you can read your blog. You can go to Linda and do it for pennies. You can read Anthony Iannarino's blog. You can get an Audible book for what, $6? Like, you can expand your skill set and your expertise for almost nothing and raise your game.
Yes, and I think that people don't necessarily recognize that difference between experience and expertise, and the fact that you've got to kind of stand out. Now, I like what you were talking about, tribe. In my book, I talk about community. And Steph Gothen talks about tribe, and I think it's something that people quite often miss in social media, is the fact that it's not just a following. It's not, following isn't enough.
No,
it's the fact that you're building a community in a way of, you're a modest person, I know, and being, you wouldn't necessarily see yourself as being ahead of a tribe, but and sometimes that's the point, is sometimes we are too modest to do that. But if you look at the way that certain the way things are built on social, there are people who are heads of certain tribes based around certain areas of knowledge. So I started out to be famous for social selling, and that's what I wanted to do. And I know that you're actually, you're known for sales and your sales ability and your ability to mentor people in terms of sales. Do you think that tribe is important for you and community?
I think tribe is important for everybody, and I think community is important for everybody. I absolutely do, and I think how you define that, right? So find me a leader without followers, and you've got no leader, right? So find me someone who wants to help people where no one wants help, then you don't have a helper, right? I mean, Mother Teresa, she's probably the most modest person in the world, right? But what did she do? In her effort to help people, to make a difference, to bring value that could impact the lives of people, and doing it consistently and doing it in a way that people admired, people will follow, right? I mean, look, even leaders follow, right? Well, except Donald Trump, that's a whole different story, right? But I mean,
let's move on.
Yes, I mean, let's look at Richard Branson, right? I mean, he talks about people he follows, right? He talks about people he admires and tries to get in touch with. So as much as people who seem to be at the top of a tribe who are leaders, they are also followers, and we follow when we value. So to me, it's just simply about, are you going through life, especially today, looking for ways to make people's lives better? So in your case, you're trying to help people understand this thing called social media and how it can help them. It can help them be a better salesperson, which in turn means making more quota, which in turn means making more commission, which in turn means getting more things out of life, which in turn means growing your savings or getting a bigger house or taking your family on vacation. So these things are all connected. And when you're able to help somebody get more out of their life, they're going to want to connect with you. And if you call that a tribe, call it a tribe. But it's just about making people's lives better.
Yeah, I think, some of it is about educating. But I think, but when my business partner and I set up our company, we were sitting in a room and we kind of had two things in common. And one of them was that we wanted to actually change the world, and the other was that we every job that we had, we always wanted to basically make a difference. And I think that's an attitude that really, if you're going to move on to social, that's kind of the thing that you may not be the change the world with, but at least think about how you can help people. And I think people sometimes have a difficulty with the fact that, when I've been in jobs where knowledge is power. So you wouldn't tell anybody anything because you were protecting your job, and and now it's actually different. It's actually completely switched over. That actually the best thing to do is to share your knowledge.
Yep. Best thing you do. Yep. Keep going.
And I was going to say, is that something that you agree with, or?
Absolutely. I talk in my book, and finding the pages is the set chapter is going to kill me. But I talked in the book about the use of information in corporations and how it changed over the 70s, 80s, 90s. And I'm trying to find that page. So bear with me, everybody, as I flip through the book.
By the way, Keenan's book is available on all Amazon platforms. Not Taught. It's a great book. Yeah. I loved it.
Thank you. I tried to make it a fun read as well. I hate boring.
It is. I mean, I've just bought one on change management, and I kind of wish I hadn't now because it looks really dull.
Yeah, people don't understand. Look, you have to have good information, but you've got to deliver it in a digestible manner.
Yes.
And if people are bored, the greatest person of that is Malcolm Gladwell. I love the guy. Nobody takes information and delivers it in a way that it's just like, oh my God, give me more. So, yeah. But to your point about this idea of information, it's on page 65, right? And it's leadership styles versus information, right? So in the 1980s, the whole methodology around leadership was retain information. People need to come ask for it, right? Then in the 90s, it was control the information, distribute evenly, and ensure it is not widely accessible. Then in the 2000s, it was communicate the information and translate it according to the audience. So IT, I'll give you yours, and sales will give you yours, and whatever, right? Then in the 2010s, it's share the information and guide the audience to find it and understand it. Now, what the future is encourage valuable information creation and leverage it. So you're talking about the flip. So you said it's flipped, and I just walk you through the stages of how it flipped. And this is what I think is power now. Hopefully I get a good meme out of this one if I get it right. But it used to be knowledge is power, right? Now it's what you do with that knowledge that creates the power. I can give 10 people the exact same level of information, And what each one of them does with that information drives the value of that person, not their personal value. Let's not get all too, worked up, folks. I'm not making fun of people, but if I give everybody the same information, the person who does the most with that and delivers the most value with it becomes the most valuable person to me. Same information, what'd you do with it? That's what we're recognizing. That's how you get the most out of your human capital, right?
Yeah, I've been working with a number of organizations where we're trying to get the people the employees to actually create their own content.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite a big, so, we're going through this thing where, 5 years ago, corporations basically said, do not talk to the press. You're not allowed to talk to any outside organization. And then we've kind of said, well, now you can actually go on social media and you can tweet what you like, and everybody's really scared and saying they don't want to make a fool of themselves. And they're now, but last year you told us we couldn't talk to anybody. And now we're trying to move them actually, ahead and actually saying, and don't just tweet, but why not write about your experiences? Or, you've just been for a meeting with a CFO. You don't need to mention the CFO's name and the company, but that CFO is just giving you, he or she's just sat there and said, these are the 3 things that are bothering me. Why don't you write a blog about it? And actually trying to move those people and having user generated or customer generated content is so powerful.
What's interesting? Yes, it is very powerful. And I think you get a great example because you don't have to use people's names. You don't have to say even your organization. You don't have to do anything that's, how do you say this, identifiable. But one of the things I talk about in the book or imply, if I'm not explicit in, is it's creation of content isn't just the distribution of content over the internet. So when we say like a blog post, technically speaking, we're talking about the distribution.
Yes.
The creation is what I write. There's nothing that prevents me from taking, if I don't want to distribute it, there's still nothing that takes me as an employee, prevents me as an employee to take that experience, clean it up, and maybe change a policy internally, right? So information comes in. I just watched this exchange and participated in this exchange with the CFO. It didn't go well. I didn't like it. Something negative came out of it, and or it went really, really well. We discovered something we didn't discover before. We did something we hadn't done. Yep. I'm like, wow, that was interesting. I noticed. So let me do something with this, not just let it be a one-off. So I just come back, I take that, I create a new process, I create a score sheet, I create a doctrine, I don't give a darn, right? And guess what? And then I distribute that to my team and I say, moving forward in this situation, we should do X. So that's taking information and then leveraging it for a broader audience, right? I mean, in the cheesiest of ways, Japan started doing this in the 1980s and 90s with their manufacturing, where they actually gave the people on the line the ability to stop the line.
Mm. Oh, yes.
Just, right? When you see something coming through that doesn't make sense, we're forgetting that's information. And if you don't give people the power to react to that information, you're building problems into your process. You're building problems into your system. So I think sometimes we get too grandiose and too sexy with this idea of information. Information is everything from a report that Harvard does down to what your entire front line sees when they're talking to customers, or what they see as they go across the manufacturing ring, or what they see inside of the warehouse in inventory and inventory management. All of that is information. Who does something with that? The greatest people, the ones who don't sit as a frontline person forever, actually see it, record it, fix it, change it, improve upon it, and spread it. And that's what it's about, being successful.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's the information and writing a blog. 95% of blogs and articles are not read.
Nope.
Distribution is key. I was watching a Whiteboard Friday from Moz, and they basically said that until you work out where your distribution network is, don't even bother writing a piece of content, which is a fairly good piece of advice. Though I would always tell people to get writing and just shove stuff out there. I think it's important that it's what people do with that information and the execution of that.
And how they come up with the information. Look, I'll tell people you have to go long when it comes to the distribution of social content. So you switch to social content. I appreciate it because that's what we're talking about. Sorry, taking you down the other route. But if you're going to start blogging, if you're going to start creating pictures, if you're going to start doing anything where you want to build an audience, the number one thing you have to remember is go long. because it's noisy, it's crowded, it's going to take people a long time to find you. It's going to take people to, even if they read this phenomenal blog post to see this phenomenal picture, they're not always going to come back right away because it's one off. So you have to keep going and get better. And little by little, day over day, you'll start to funnel to the top. You'll rise up. Most people quit. They quit before they get there, right? I talk about I talk about the peak of positive return, where the idea is and it's easy for us at first, but then as it gets harder and harder, a lot of us quit because we're not getting as much return on it, right? I mean, the amount of hours Federer has to put in to get better is probably 10x, 20x, 30x, 30, 60, 100 hours to get that much better, to avoid one mistake. Most people don't have the strength of attitude to do that. Like, I am not working 60 hours at something to eliminate one mistake, right? But those who are the best, that's what they do. Right. So same thing here. You got to go long and you got to keep trying to rise up and rise up.
And you know, for the, you know, the average salesperson that's watching this, what's your advice to them in terms of what they should be doing and what behavior changes should they be making in their everyday lives?
I think the greatest thing that salespeople can do to be better salespeople is obviously to continue learning the skills and the we'll go with the skills and what's the word I'm looking for? Just say the skills of salespeople. And I don't mean closing skills of, you know, overcoming objections, although I think those are really, really important. What I mean is understanding, what does a sale look like from contact to contract? How does a buyer buy? What are the motivations behind a buyer? How are you getting those motivations out of a buyer? How are you positioning your solution, not your product, not the features, but your solution as it relates to what it is the buyer is trying to accomplish or achieve? Like, you should really be very self-aware about how you do what you do today, where are the areas for improvement, and don't talk to me about your quota. I don't want to hear about you achieving a quota that makes you good or you don't achieve a quota that makes you bad. I want you focused on your own personal how. How do you sell? Just like Federer, how do I swing the racket? How does my backhand work? How do I respond to a backspin, you know, et cetera? And then evaluate yourself there and then start getting better. Every single day, try to improve on something and focus on what we call mastery. Carol Dweck talks about this, and she's brilliant. Don't talk about goals. I don't want quota goals and President's Club goals. I want mastery goals. What are the 2, 3, 4, 5 things in 2017 that you're not that good at as a salesperson? And then what is your deliberate learning path to get better?
Right.
That's what people do. And that's advice I'd give the whole world. Most people can't tell you what they suck at their job. And if you can, you should try this someday. Tim, you should try this. Go to someone and say, okay, you're a salesperson. Name the 3 things that you could get better at in sales. Just sit and listen. Don't say another word and wait. And 9 out of 10 times, you'll know if they're making them up for the first time right there. And if they are, or even if they're not, say, okay, fantastic. Tell me the last thing you did to improve on that. Yeah. And I can tell you that the savvy ones will try to lie to you, but you'll know it's crap. And the other ones will say, yeah, I really haven't, I need to. So then you know people aren't committed to getting better. And the ones who really have, they're like, oh my God, I stink at discovery. I'm terrible at the demo, or I'm terrible at listening, right? And then, yeah, and I've been so bad. I've been listening to, did you know there's this guy named, Thomas Jones Jr., and he's been writing books on listening and the power of listening. I've been listening to those all the time, and I've learned that I don't do this, and they'll know it right off the bat, and they'll tell you all the stuff they're doing.
Yeah.
And they're good. Everybody else, no. They're on like this. Zombie. I'm great. I got 10 years experience. I don't fix anything, though. I don't fix anything. I don't even know what's wrong with me. I don't know where I suck. Yeah, that's your average person. So fix it, salespeople.
And do you see those things, because you talked at the beginning about social and about making sure that you were that you see it as a long game and you see it's about giving. Do you see the current sales process as about a long game and about giving?
That's a great question.
Is it, what is it? Is there a connection there? Or because I get a lot of people having a go at me online because there's a lot of cold callers who don't like me because I've got this alternative view on life, and they don't believe that it works. They just believe they've got to keep making more and more phone calls, and we're kind of being I'm trying to think of the political correct way of we're not being, salespeople are forthright and we need to ask for the order.
Stoic.
Yeah, and don't listen to those social people because they're not like. And I mean, what's your view? You do a lot of work with salespeople. You mentor salespeople. What's your view and what's your recommendation?
Yeah, so my recommendation is look, I agree that there are alternatives to cold calling now. I'm a huge fan, right? I mean, I have a sales guy that works for me now, and less and less of his time is cold calling, not because I hate cold calling, but we've done a decent job of creating a brand and content that gets people inbound. So at least they know, we'll call, I don't know, cool calling. I don't care what you want to call it, but so his outbound calls, they usually know who we are. They downloaded something. He doesn't have to go completely cold, but he still does sometimes. So I'm less concerned about the medium one uses to reach out. What I'm more concerned about is what is your message? And you had a great point. Yes, the long game, but it's less the long game to me when it comes to connecting with customers. It's more about giving, okay? The ability for you to give to your customer what they need to accomplish what it is they're trying to get done. And this is what I say to salespeople. I don't download a report on social selling and how to make quota unless there's something going on in my organization that makes me believe that I need this. I don't download an ebook on improved inventory measurements and analytics in a large warehouse environment unless I believe that there's something going on in my organization that I could benefit from this. And so what I teach salespeople to do, what I want them to do is I want you to have empathy. I don't want you going into the sale about how you can make a sale, but how you can get that person to buy what you have. I want you to go into that thinking, how can I help this person? Are they having a problem with their inventory management? I wonder what that problem could be. How is that problem affecting them? Are they losing lots of money? Are they losing inventory? Is inventory turns really slow and it's costing their ability to bring in new inventory? They're taking huge inventory losses because new products come out, but they still got the old ones on the shelf. And so they have to rid those or discount them because they can't keep up. They get their ass handed to them by the competition, right? Now, all of this came in my head right away. I don't run inventory. I don't have a retail shop. I'm not an OEM. But why is it at least I could go this deep in the world of inventory and envision the types of problems they're having? Because I put myself in their shoes. I'm thinking about what it must be like sitting in a warehouse with all this inventory and people wanting stuff that I don't have, but I have stuff they don't want, and how much that's costing me, and how do I get rid of that, and how's it affecting my cash position? And what about, excuse me, what about my lines of credit that are getting maxed and I'm buying stuff on lines of credit? Again, think about this. Most salespeople won't and can't do this because they're so focused on their product. They're so focused on the features of that product. They're not empathetic to their customer prospect. They're not caring about fixing or giving to that person. So to answer your question, to me, it's all about giving in sales and understanding how I can give.
And about helping and teaching and supporting the customer.
Giving to me is the broad term. Giving, you've given them something. If you've taught somebody something, you've given them something, right? So yes, all of you said, but all that, and for me, it falls under the giving umbrella.
Yeah, and I know that Jill Conrath is a big hater, as I am, of manipulation.
Oh yeah, totally.
The number of big phone calls that I get where people basically have this process that they go through, which will take you to yes, and the only thing that you can do is basically to stop it and use two words, and one of them is off.
Yep.
And which neither party actually likes to do, but it's the only way that you can stop them taking you down to this thing. And I'm not going to buy it.
That's stealing. When people manipulate, they're stealing.
Yes.
Your time. They're stealing your attention. You're not giving it to them because you want to give it to them. They're manipulating in a way that you're giving to them unbeknownst to yourself. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So personal brand. First 3 chapters of your book, personal branding. How important is a personal brand?
I think it's critical today. I mean, I think right now,
everybody, for accountants and people in HR as well as people in sales.
Absolutely. Let me say why it's critical. And let me preface it with this. I believe that you can be successful still without a personal brand. But I believe if you were to look at this on the crossing the chasm life cycle of a product or whatever, we're getting right to the top of you had the early innovators, early adopters, There's another one I forget. There's one more. And then you go back to the late adopters and laggards, right? I think we're getting right to the top of the early adopters, and we're starting to creep into the late adopters. And here's what happens when late adopters come on. It's no longer a competitive advantage. It's a must-have. So I think we're still in a place that if you have a good, strong personal brand as an accountant, as an engineer, as a salesperson, as a teacher, I don't really care, then you have a competitive advantage. In a short period of time, 1 year, 5 years, 6 years, I don't know, it's going to be a level set and you need it to compete. And then after that, if you don't have it, you're being left behind. Right. So the reason it's so important, and in my opinion, the entire thing is premised on this. We are more and more dependent on Google, more and more dependent on the internet. When I meet somebody new, I want to know as much about them as I can before I let them into my life. People do it for dating. People do it for babysitters. You know, people are doing it more and more for their teachers. So when they get a new teacher at a new school, they go out and see what they can find about that teacher. So right now, if you're controlling that brand, so when someone goes to try to find you, let's say that teacher, you've been teaching the same school forever, great. So everybody at the school knows you, but anytime someone new comes in, they go and Google you. If they see really funny, cool videos of you teaching, if they see cool videos or blogs about how you connect with the students, if they have a parent or teacher that talks about how you changed their kid's life, what does that parent think of you the first day you show up in school? They've dropped their kid off at school. They're all excited. Oh, you should look at my kid's teacher. They're sending their friends to it. They're talking about right? Even if you suck, let them find out later, right? What their first impression is, you are the bomb.
Yes.
First impression, as opposed to no impression. So why people don't get ahead of their brand, and so when people meet them for the first time, they know what to expect. You control that. So if I'm a recruiter looking for an accountant and you've got 20, 30, 50 LinkedIn Pulse blogs on how to save money, how to get ARs, how to reduce the days of sales outstanding, all of that stuff, I'm pumped. I don't even have to ask you questions in the interview. I'm like, wow, look at that. We've never thought about this. Or our days sales outstanding DSOs are 60 days, and this cat's got a process that gets down to 45. Oh my God, we need him, right?
Yeah.
You not want to have that is beyond me. Get out there because they're looking. I said this in the book.
We did a presentation to a hairdressing conference, which is kind of ironic, really. I'm
catching up to you.
Yeah. And that was really because hairdressers traditionally, certainly in the UK, they don't necessarily own a company. They generally rent a chair.
Yes.
And you know what it's like. If you go to a hairdresser, even me, I go to the same barbers.
Yep.
Because I know that I'm going to get a particular haircut, though it's kind of not difficult. Whereas I know with women, they always stick with the same hairdresser, even if they move around. If you were starting out as a hairdresser and you wanted to attract new clients, then surely what you're going to do is you're going to put, this is the sort of amazing thing that I can do. This is, here's some tips about how to wash your hair or how to condition your hair. Because if someone's you're going to go, I want that hairdresser. Mm-hmm. And then, with hairdressers, you say I'm fully booked, you can put your prices up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because then you're in the realm of supply and demand and say, so I don't understand why you wouldn't do it.
I don't either. And especially what I love about hairdressing and a barber and hold on, there's going to be some others. And let's say a cleaning service or a babysitter, right? What makes these more powerful is these are referral-based businesses.
Yes.
Right? I mean, these are businesses that people get most of their business from referrals. For instance, do you know any good hairdresser? Oh, mine's the best. You got to talk to her, right? So when you have a referral-based business, things like this, like social, magnify that 10x, because you can get the people that like you because they like you. That's why they keep going to you. So they'll do testimonials for you. They'll let you do before and afters. They'll participate and be engaged on your Facebook page. They're much more engaged. So yeah, I mean, perfect example is hairdressers.
Personal trainers,
yes.
Travel. I went on a holiday to South Africa, and the travel guide said, "Oh, it's a bit slow down here and stuff like that." And he was taking these amazing photos. Yep. And we're on a safari, and I'm going, "You've got to get these on social media." Oh, why? Well, people will be queuing up to come down and see this stuff. You know, that picture, you know, we've just seen lions and cubs. I said I could put it out on mine, but if you're basically constant saying, here's a picture of a hyena, here's a picture of the, people are going to ring you up.
Yes. Yes.
You'll get in, to use the trendy term, you will get inbound.
Yes. 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 By the way, where'd you go in South Africa?
Oh, we did a big tour, 3,000 kilometers.
When you went on safari, did you go to Mala Mala or Kruger National Park? Where'd you go?
Kruger.
Yeah, I went to Kruger.
Well, I've done a number of safaris around I've been to Zambia, I've been to Tanzania, and I've done one in Uganda as well.
Oh wow!
I've seen the gorillas in Uganda.
I would like to do that.
That's amazing.
I'd like to see that. I did Mala Mala.
It's one of those things where you walk down the mountain, you go, that was special.
Wow. All right. See, look, next on my list. I did Mala Mala. I went to Kruger. I did Zambia. I did the Victoria Falls and stayed at the Livingston Hotel.
Yeah.
I've done Egypt and Pyramid at Sunset. I've done Morocco and went on the Marrakesh Express. Anybody remember that band? All aboard Marrakesh Express. Yeah. Who's that? Quick, you knew that.
We Stills and Nash and Young.
All right. So next, we've gone in the gorillas. All right. Done.
Yeah.
Jane Goodall.
Good. So we're kind of up to 40 minutes. Time is flown. So is there anything else, Keenan, you want to share with the people on the video?
No, I think the only thing I would share is, look, for you people, things are changing. Okay, you just have to start evaluating how you're positioning yourself for your career. If you think you just go in and do a really good job and you're going to rely on your boss and your coworkers to set you up for your next job or take you with them, you're really shrinking your opportunities. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, you think you're just going to get traditional advertising, your friends are going to tell everybody to come visit you and do your thing, you're missing the boat. There's just a whole new world out there. And a lot of customers and buyers have a whole new set of expectations. And if you're not taking those into consideration, you're just making it harder for yourself. I'm not even going to tell you doing it wrong. You're just making it harder. And it's hard enough being an entrepreneur. It's hard enough moving up the ranks. It's hard enough getting better jobs. Why make it harder? Invest the time in yourself to learn this stuff, brand yourself, and grow as a person. And you grow your expertise, and your world will change with more opportunities. I mean, why pick from two if people can, so there you have it.
So is it true you've got a book out?
Not a new, this one, not a new one, just this one. Right. There you go. Yeah.
So if you've not got it already, then get Keenan's book. Not Talk. It's a fantastic book, as I say, it really gives you the skills to think about what you need in. It's not a book about social selling or how to sell. It's about the skills that you need in 2017 to be successful.
Yes.
And to build your again. It's not about personal branding, but it gives you the foundations of why you need one.
Yes, I think the subtitle says it best, right? What it takes to be successful in the 21st century that nobody's teaching you. What we were taught and what kids are still being taught, millennials are still being taught, doesn't map to what business, society, social, and the whole are looking for. What you're being taught or what you've been taught and what you're doing is no longer as relevant and successful as what you need today. So that's what this is. Look at the handbook from the 20th century to the 21st century.
Yeah, and I made this. I actually got it on Kindle, and that's a mistake.
Why is that?
Because it's a book that it's a book that you need to basically put on the shelf, and then every now and again you go, I need to look at that and get it back off and read the bit again.
Yeah,
and which you can't really do on a Kindle.
No.
And if I did it again, I'd buy the paper book anyway.
I'll send you one.
You don't need to send me one. It's okay.
All right.
So, Keenan, thank you so much for today. It's been really great talking to you.
Thank you, Glad we got a chance to do this.
Where can people find you?
Basically, if you search Jim Keenan in Google or a sales guy, that's half of my logo right there. You'll find me everywhere. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Everywhere. LinkedIn is Keenan. Twitter is Keenan. Instagram is Jim Keenan. Keenan's a tough name to get across all my profiles, but so yeah, Jim Keenan, you'll find.
Generally known as Keenan. If I want to find you on social, you'll be there as Keenan rather than Jim Keenan.
If I can, that's the hard part. It's a pretty popular name. So Twitter and LinkedIn, I'm Keenan. Yes. Instagram,
brilliant.
Jim Keenan. Unfortunately, I can't fast enough.
Thank you so much for today, and have a good day. Thanks, Keenan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Take care.
Okay.